What's up, guys? Chris Brown, otherwise known as Chain Stasis Wellness, coming at you with another nutrition tip. This week, I want to talk to you about another anti-nutrient called lectins. Lectins are very similar to the one we talked about last week, oxalates, but let's talk about the difference and what they mean to you guys. So, what are lectins? Lectins, in essence, they're a carbohydrate binding protein. Okay, they bind to other things as well, but I won't get too deep into that. Most of you probably have heard about the lectin gluten. It's the most notorious one, right? Lectins are found mostly in plants, and just like oxalates, they're there for a purpose to protect them. They serve as a deterrent for animals or small pests from eating them and become protective of them, also as keeping their seeds through the digestive systems of animals, including humans. So they don't break down after you eat them, and you poop them out, and they can still proliferate as that plant later on, even if they were eaten, right? Plants are dicks. So, anyways, when we eat food normally, our intestinal walls, what happens is they're damaged in a very minor way, right? And then we'll use that to heal like micro trauma in the muscles fairly quickly. So your stomach's going through a period of breaking down, building back all the time, your intestinal lining specifically. That's how it works. It's actually pretty crazy. If only we could get all of our organs to regenerate that quickly and that efficiently, we'd probably be living a lot longer in our lives, right? We just got to talk to Dr. Connors, aka the lizard from Spider-Man. If you don't know who he is, he learned how to grow back his arm, and in the process, he turned into a giant lizard monster. So maybe we don't want to do that. Anyways, micronutrients are absorbed typically and passed through the bloodstream in our intestines and stomach. And while the big particles in our intestines are just going to stay there, right? They're going to flow right through as poop, basically. We don't want that to get out of our intestines. That would be a big problem. Lectins, what they do is they can impair this regeneration that's generally pretty quick and efficient, all right? And if you don't have the regeneration working very well, you can kind of think of an analogy of Wolverine is old man Logan, right? He's older, he doesn't heal as fast. Or you can think of Superman with a little bit of kryptonite near him. It's not on him, but it's around him. So things just aren't working so well. If we get enough of this damage from these lectins, if they're staying there long enough, our intestines get inflamed and they don't come back together as well. So it'll allow more junk to go through. Bacteria, food particles, all kinds of stuff can get out. Best case scenario, we just become inefficient and don't absorb the micronutrients we need as well. Worst case scenario, we get literal junk flowing through the rest of our systems, causing other inflammatory-based problems. If the individual already has these GI issues, things just get way worse. They exacerbate the effects. If you have other inflammatory issues, most major diseases are inflammation-based, they can feel worse too. It's just generally a bad thing. So you see, when our bodies actually notice an enemy or a problem, they send antibodies over via the inflammation response. Think back to the that book everybody read where the little toy soldiers were going through the bloodstream to try to kill things, right? That's what's happening. However, when we have that happening in our stomachs chronically all the times, this can trigger all kinds of immune system responses that don't seem to be related to the gut, but are all over our body. And the ones that are related to our gut, these can cause vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, all those things pretty regularly. Even congestion, phlegm, all that stuff, we'll just get that all the time. Maybe people get so used to it, they'll not even realize it's happening, right? Interestingly, the colon is directly tied to the brain. So when you have GI issues, you're more sensitive to pain and mental anguish. So a lot of times people who have these chronic GI issues like IBS or whatnot, they're not in a great mental place, and then they rely on more of this food to eat it and make them feel better, and it makes them worse, and they're just stuck in this loop. It's kind of like alcoholics. They drink to feel better, but at the end of the day, they're depressed because they're drinking too much, and they just keep doing it, right? And then your system breaks down, gets worse, and they're stuck. So they need help, right? At least with food, it's not necessarily an addiction. We just need to know that we got to get ourselves out of the loop, right? Chew on that thought for a bit. It's really important for you to think about that. But generally, If the food with lectins in it is properly cooked, right, these symptoms are nullified or greatly subdued. So that's not necessarily like, oh, lectins are poison that's going to absolutely kill you. You can't eat any of these foods ever again, like beans or kale or spinach. You can't eat grains, can't have any gluten. No, don't think of it as black and white like that. When you cook these foods, there's a lot less lectins in them. For instance, beans. When you cook beans, you sprout them, you soak them, you cook them. They have almost nothing left in them, right? Some people, however, are just super sensitive to lectins, right? They may have celiac disease. They're super sensitive to gluten. Who knows? Everyone's a little different. It's just like some people don't feel caffeine. They drink an espresso and go right to bed. Or some people have really high creatine stores in their muscles, so they take the supplement and they don't notice any strength gains, right? Not everyone's the same. Some things affect people differently. So why do so many people have these GI issues? Why are they reporting them constantly? Well, it seems that we have changed in our society as a whole. Not only do people have access to these foods year round instead of seasonally, we couldn't grow wheat all the time before. Now we can. But we also have shifted our diets to heavier plants, grains, nuts, seeds, nut and seed oils in our diet. Don't even get me started on the government subsidies of these foods. All right, they're killing us by making this food cheap and affordable and making other foods more expensive, right? Also, just like with oxalates, vegetarians and vegans who aren't eating meat or animal products as much to get their calories in, they have to have a lot more of these foods just to get adequate protein intake. So they may be reporting more of issues, GI issues, or gluten problems, which is what everybody loves to use as a scapegoat. They may be reporting more of these issues because of this, right? Oftentimes people will say, I have a gluten allergy, even though they don't really have proof of it. But if you do feel like when you eat that food, it's something to consider in the very least. The thing is, when you eat gluten-free or when you eat a certain way, a specific diet, right, you're probably just getting rid of all the garbage processed foods you were having before. So you really don't have a way to say, oh, it's gluten, as much as you said, hey, I stopped eating crap. So next time you talk about keto, carnivore, paleo, Mediterranean, just think about what you're actually doing, right? Confirmation bias is a real thing, and you probably have it. I probably do too, right? Anyways, so sure, plants are dicks, right? But don't give up on your beans, lentils, and gluten just yet. Just like oxalates, cooking, sprouting, fermenting, all that stuff can reduce the lectin and other anti-nutrient contents. Those two are not the only anti-nutrients, right? Just don't eat raw beans, rice, or grains. What kind of psycho does that anyways? You deserve to vomit, you weirdo, right? We don't eat raw chicken either, right? Do you love salmonella? Because I don't. So cook your food, right? Cooking beans and lentils essentially eliminates lectins. Fermentation does the same thing with soy. That makes beer good, right? No, sorry, don't go binge drinking beer. But if these foods don't make you feel good, just back off of them. Common sense. Probably you should consult your doctor and or nutritionist as well. They can help you learn how to go through an elimination diet. Besides that, these lectin-containing foods, they often have so many other positive effects for our health. Google it. I promise you'll find plenty of stuff. This is one case where Google might actually help you instead of mislead you. Besides that, recent research suggests that lectins also might seem to have a positive effect on immune system regulation and possibly cancer prevention. There's a specific mushroom, Agaricus bisporus, I probably said that terribly, which shows anti-proliferative effects towards cancer cells, which we call autophagy and apoptosis. And that's not the only one. That's just one of the ones that's been studied a lot. But just like many drugs and supplements, though, they need to get extracted and put through specific processes to be used for these purposes. So please don't go start drowning yourself in lectins, especially if you're having an actual major issue like some form of cancer. All right. That may be something to look into and talk to your doctor about, but you shouldn't just start eating raw beans. That will cause you a problem. Promise you, won't be good. Generally, research in this domain is still fairly new. Science means we prove ourselves wrong all the time, so please be open-minded, all right? It's good to generally use what we've done a lot of research on, but it still can be wrong. We do that all the time. If there's one thing I've learned, there's always more we don't understand. Don't get cocky, kid. That's what they say, right? Anyways, I hope you found this video useful for making healthier decisions for you and your family. If you like this content, please comment, like, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and keep an eye out for more. If you want to see any more different types of anti-nutrients, please let me know. If you got any other suggestions of what other things we should talk about, let me know too. Anyways, until next time, thank you so much and be well. Bye, guys.